Thank you to Casper and Hector for supporting this channel. You guys are awesome. This is like the 50th take, but we have a Discord server now, so you guys should join, because you can see what I'm up to, and if you guys need help with your projects, it's much easier to talk to me over Discord. So, check out the link below. Okay guys, before we get started, let's address a bug we talked about in the last video. So if you hold shift, as you know, we sprint in place, like this. And that is not a feature we want in our game. So I briefly described how I would go about fixing it in the end of the last video. So if you guys went ahead and did that, good job. If not, I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So let's hop into our scripts and see what's up. We're going to first want to take a look here in the player manager, and is sprinting equals input handler b input. We're going to erase that because basically every time we're hitting the b input, sprinting is true, and that's not what we want. So we're going to go here now on our player locomotion, and where it says if input handler dot sprint flag, we're going to add and input handler dot move amount has to be greater than 0.5. So if the sprint flag is true, the move amount also needs to be greater than 0.5 for sprinting to be true. And then if the input handler move amount is less than 0.5, we're going to make player manager dot is sprinting false, and we're going to do the same right here. And we're going to save that, and that should remedy our issue. So just to reiterate, the player is sprinting will only be true if the input handler sprint flag is active and the input handler move amount is greater than 5. If it is less than 5 and the sprint flag is not true, then player manager dot is sprinting is going to be equal to false. Okay guys, moving right along. So now we're going to need to add a new layer to the animator. We're going to do some work on the animator right here briefly. So we're going to call this layer override, and you're going to want to create an empty state here. I'm just going to call mine empty. I suggest you do too, as to not lead to confusion. And the whole purpose of the override layer is to control us playing our attack animations, our rolling, our dodging, and we're going to use the base layer strictly for locomotion only. So crank the weight up to 1, that's very important. You don't need to put an avatar there because if there's none, it'll just use everything. And copy and paste all of our animations that were on the base layer, except for locomotion, over to this layer and point them towards empty. Now, we're going to do some editing to our reset is interacting script, and we're actually going to make it so instead of having to put this on every animation to reset or interacting, we're just going to put it on the empty layer and have it reset or interacting when any of these animations come back to this empty state. And this is a lot more efficient, and we're going to make this script so we can use this to reset other bools in the future besides is interacting. For example, we could make it so when you attack, an is attacking bool is triggered, but then when it returns to the empty state, we can have that bool be disabled. So this is going to be a much better system. So I'm just going to rename my reset is interacting script here. I'm going to call this reset animated bool. You can make a new script and delete it or rename it. Just make sure if you do rename it, you rename the script and the name of the script. That's very important because scripts are finicky like that and will be disagreeable otherwise. So let's go in here and remove all of the scripts from our falling, land, rolling, and backstep things, animations. And we're going to open up this other script here. Now before it was on override public void on state exit, okay? But we're actually going to need to use on state enter now, because this script will be triggered when an animation has finished playing, like an attack animation or a rolling animation, and it returns to the empty state. Goodness, I'm sorry for the bang if you guys hear that. I think it's my neighbors. But we're going to use a string for a target bool and a bool for a status. So the string being the bool we want to manipulate in the animator, and the status being if we want to turn it on or off. And it's very easy. Just we're going to say public override void on state enter animator state info, and int for layer index. And we're going to say animator dot set bool target bool comma status. That's it. Perfect. Nice and clean and great. And we're going to save that. Minimize this here. And now we're going to place that on our empty, and we're going to type in the name of our bool. Oops. So we want to reset is interacting. So we're just going to type that in right here, and we're going to keep the status off, blank. Now I went ahead and jumped in game here to test this out. So we're just going to come over here and we're going to do a roll, which will trigger is interacting. And yep, and it turns off right when we're finished. Check this out. See the is interacting? It will turn on as we roll, and it will come off when we're finished. Alright guys, now let's focus on the weapons themselves. So we're going to go ahead and jump to our weapon item scripts, and we're going to figure out a way here to choose our animations that we play from each weapon. So I'm going to make a header, and I'm going to call this one-handed attacks. We're going to focus on one-handed for now because we gotta walk before we run. So we're going to make a light attack and a heavy attack. So let's make a public string. I'm going to call this one-handed light attack 1. And then I'll make an additional string, which I will call one-handed heavy attack 1. Perfect, okay. Let's save that. Close out all these scripts here so we got a bit more neatness, less confusion. Alright, next we're going to the player and we're going to add a component. We're going to need a new script. Let's make one called player attacker. And this is going to handle the attacks of our player. The light attacks, the heavy attacks, the running attacks, etc, etc. So let's double click that and open it up and head back into the studio here. As is per tradition, let's make our namespace. Let's annihilate the start and update methods because right now we're not going to use those. So I'm going to make a public void handle light attack. We're going to pass a weapon item. Just going to call that weapon. Next, public void handle heavy attack and also pass a weapon item. Call it weapon. Okay guys, we're also going to need our animator handler. So let's go up here. Animation handler, whoops. I think it's animator handler. There we go. Let's put that in there. We're going to need to call that on an awake method or a start method, whichever you prefer. We're going to say animator handler get component in children because we are on the player attacker and that is in a thing below us. And next we're going to go to our handle light attack and say animator handler dot play target animation weapon dot one handle light attack 1 and is interacting equals true to player root motion and to prevent us from moving. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to say weapon dot one hand heavy attack 1 and we're going to save that. Okay guys, moving along here, let's go to our input handler. Now we have our move input, we have our handle roll input, and we have a tick input to call them both. Let's make an attack input, which we will call on our tick input as well. So, attack input, float delta, and let's open up some curly bracers. Now, if I remember correctly, we're going to need to do some work on our player inputs, because I don't think we've added them. Yep, okay, so let's go over here to player actions, and we're going to add a new action. Let's call this RB. And for now, I'm just going to add the keyboard binding and not the controller binding. You can add both if you'd like. I'm going to assign my RB to my E on my keyboard. Let's add an RT for heavy attacks. And I'm going to assign that, let's do R on the keyboard. Alright, let's save that. Okay guys, back over into our input handler. Let's go into our attack input and let's say input actions dot player actions dot RB dot performed, and that strange syntax RB input equals true. But we need to make an RB input pool because we haven't done that yet. So right below our B input pool, I'm going to make an RB input pool and an RT input pool for our light attacks and our heavy attacks. Then we're going to say input actions dot player actions dot RT dot performed and yada 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 RT input equals true. So, next, let's go over here again. Yeah, I'm gonna change attack input to handle attack input. So let's call that here. Put the delta. I'm just gonna right click here, rename. Handle attack input, that looks neater to me. Okay, back to the player manager. So we're going to need to go down to late update, and where we call input handler dot roll flag is false and our sprint flag is false, we're going to call RB input and RT input equals false. That way, when you hit the button at the end of the frame, the bool is returned to false, so the button only registers one time. So we're going to say if RB input, if it is true. Now we're going to need to haul in our player attacker script. So let's go up here, and let's put it right under player controls here. So player attacker, let's just call that player attacker and call that on awake or start. We do not have a method for awake or start yet, so let's create one real quick. We're going to say player attacker equals get component player attacker. Alright, excellent. Let's scroll down here. So if RB input is true, player attacker dot handle light attack. Now we're going to need our weapon, aren't we? Because we need to pass one. So we're going to need our inventory for that, because we store our weapons on our left and right weapon in our inventory. So player inventory, let's call that on awake. Player inventory equals get component player inventory. And let's come back down here to our method again. And inside the little brackets here, we're going to say player inventory dot right weapon, because this is RB for the right hand. If you want to add a comment here that says RB input handles the right hand's weapons, and LB or the LT and LB would handle left hand. We're going to say if RT input player attacker dot handle heavy attack player inventory dot right weapon. And let's save that and head on into the game and try it out. Alright guys, first we're going to need to actually add the animations. So I'm going to bring in a heavy attack and 2 light attacks. I'm just going to bring the light attack up here, and light attack 2 up here, and our heavy attack up here. I can't share these animations, unfortunately, because they are made for the game I'm currently creating, and I can't give them away for free because a couple of these, not all 3 of them, are actually made by somebody on the Unity Asset Store. So I'm going to take off foot IK on my attack animations, and I'm going to drag them to the empty state. So when I'm done attacking, it will return to the empty state, which will reset our is interacting bool. Next, let's find our weapon. Mine is in data, items, weapons, and sword. And now we have 2 little things we can fill in here for our light attack 1 and heavy attack 1. So I'm just going to say one-handed underscore light underscore attack underscore 01. And for heavy attack, I'm going to say OH underscore heavy underscore attack underscore 01. Okie dokie. Now if we head into the game, and if I hit RB, we should be able to do a light attack. Yep, and there it is, with root motion enabled. Wonderful. Now if I hit RT, we should be able to do a heavy attack, and there it is. Wonderful. Alright guys, so we have a pretty nice base now and a foundation for actually, using our attacks. And now we can start to cover things like damage colliders, which means we can add things in our game now like health, which is really exciting. So thank you for watching. If you're here this far, please drop a like. It does help appease the YouTube algorithm gods, which helps my channel, and that helps you in turn because then I can make more videos. Now just a note for you more advanced or adept Unity users out there, you can go way more over the top with this system. Instead of using strings to call these animations, you could create a whole system that uses item actions and then have things like an action container. So instead of calling a particular string for an animation, you could assign each weapon individually their own actions, and inside those actions they could house their own animations, and that will allow for a very modular system. But for the sake of this tutorial series, I'm going to keep it as simple as I can, just because, quite frankly, we can't accomplish what we want with a very simplistic approach. Alright guys, and on that note, thank you to Casper, Hector, Nico, Simon, Steven, and TTH for their support on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next one.